If you've been scrolling through Facebook lately, you've probably seen it. Pension skyrockets to $1,208 in January 2026. Screenshots everywhere, people celebrating, shares in the thousands. And if you are a retiree or about to retire, your heart probably did a little jump. An extra $100 a fortnight, that is real money. That is groceries, that is petrol, that is breathing room. But here is the problem, that number isn't what you think it is. And if you are planning your budget around it, you are about to be blindsided. Today, I am going to show you exactly where this figure came from, what the real Australian pension increase looks like, and why believing everything you see online could cost you more than just disappointment. Let's cut through the noise. So first, the question everyone's asking, is there a pension increase in January 2026? Yes. But, and this is a massive, but it is not what the viral posts are claiming. The age pension does go up in January 2026, as it does every 6 months through indexation. That part is true. But the $1,208 figure, that is where things get messy, because that number didn't come from Services Australia. It didn't come from the Australian government. It came from a completely different country with a completely different system, and somehow it got copy-pasted across Australian Facebook groups like it was gospel. This is how misinformation spreads. A grain of truth wrapped in a layer of confusion, shared by people who mean well but didn't check the source. Let me show you where this all started. The $1,208 figure originates from New Jersey, USA. Specifically, it refers to a maximum monthly benefit under New Jersey's state pension system for their 2026 fiscal year. Not Australia, not Centrelink, not the age pension. It is a completely unrelated program from a completely different social security framework. Someone somewhere saw that number, didn't read the fine print, and shared it in an Australian context. Then, it snowballed. Within days, it was being shared in Australian retiree groups, WhatsApp chats, and comment sections, with people tagging their friends and saying, "Did you hear? We're getting $1,208. But, here is the thing, context matters. A number without a source is just noise. And in this case, that noise has created a lot of false hope. So, what is the real number for Australia? Let's get specific. As of January 2026, the maximum base rate for a single-age pension recipient is expected to be around $1,144.4 per fortnight. That is the core payment. But most people don't just get the base rate. If you are eligible, you also receive supplements, primarily the pension supplement and the energy supplement. The pension supplement for a single person is approximately $81.6 per fortnight, and the energy supplement is around $14.1. Add those together, and you get a total maximum payment of roughly $1,240.1 per fortnight. Now, here is where it gets interesting. That total is actually higher than the viral $1,208 figure. But there is a catch. Not everyone gets the maximum. Your actual payment depends on the income test and the assets test. If you have income from other sources like part-time work, rental income, or deemed income from financial investments, your pension reduces. Same goes if your assets exceed certain thresholds. So while the maximum is around $1,240, your personal rate could be anywhere from 0 to that cap, depending on your individual circumstances. Now, let's talk about timing, because this is another area where the misinformation falls apart. The viral posts claim the increase happens in January 2026. And yes, there is an indexation adjustment in January. But here is what most people don't realize. The bigger, more significant indexation happens in March and September each year. January's increase is typically modest, usually just a few dollars per fortnight, reflecting cost of living adjustments based on the Consumer Price Index and wage growth. The March 2026 indexation, on the other hand, is when you'll see a more noticeable bump, because that is when the full 6-month data gets factored in. So if you are expecting a huge jump in your January payment, you are going to be disappointed. The real movement happens in March. This is why understanding the indexation schedule matters. It is not about hype. It is about knowing when to actually expect changes so you can plan accordingly. Let's dig into how the government decides your pension status, because this is where intent comes into play. Services Australia doesn't just look at what you say, they look at what you do. If you are claiming the age pension, they assess your residency status based on multiple factors. Where you spend most of your time, where your assets are located, where your family lives, and whether you've maintained ties to Australia. You can't just tick a box that says, "I am a resident," and expect that to hold up if your behaviour suggests otherwise. For example, if you are spending 10 months a year overseas, you've sold your Australian property and your bank accounts are mostly offshore, Centrelink will reassess your residency. And if they determine you are no longer an Australian resident for social security purposes, your pension can be reduced or even suspended. This isn't about punishment. It is about ensuring the system supports people who are genuinely living in Australia and relying on it as their primary safety net. The rules exist for a reason, and they're applied based on evidence, not assumptions. Now, here is something that catches a lot of people off guard: the government's data sharing capabilities. If you think that because you are overseas, Centrelink won't know what you are doing, think again. Services Australia has access to data from the Australian Taxation Office, immigration records, and even international data sharing agreements with other countries. They can see when you leave Australia, when you return, how long you've been gone, and whether you've declared foreign income. If you fail to report a change in your circumstances, like extended overseas travel or foreign income, and they find out later, you'll face debt recovery. That means they'll calculate how much you were overpaid and demand it back, sometimes with penalties. I've seen cases where retirees owed tens of thousands of dollars because they didn't realize their overseas pension counted as income. The system is watching, not to catch you out, but to ensure compliance. And the best way to stay compliant is to be proactive and transparent. Let's talk about the practical side, how your money actually gets to you, and what can go wrong. If you are receiving the age pension and you are overseas, your payment can still be deposited into your Australian bank account. But here is where it gets tricky. If you are living overseas long-term and you want your pension paid into a foreign bank account, you'll need to notify Centrelink. They can arrange international payments, but there are delays, fees, and exchange rate fluctuations that can eat into your payment. You might see $1,200 OD on paper, but after bank fees and conversion rates, you are left with significantly less. And if there is a problem with the payment, like your bank details change, or there is a compliance review, it can take weeks to resolve, especially if you are dealing with time zone differences and international call centres. This is why I always recommend keeping an Australian bank account active, even if you are living abroad. It is a safety net that keeps your payments flowing smoothly. Now, what happens if you decide to come back to Australia after being overseas for an extended period? You might assume your pension just picks up where it left off, but that is not how it works. If your pension was suspended or reduced due to your overseas absence, you'll need to reapply or request a reassessment. That means gathering documentation, proving your residency again, and waiting for processing times, which can stretch for weeks or even months. During that gap, you are without income. This is a blind spot that many retirees don't anticipate. They think of their pension as a constant, but in reality, it is a conditional entitlement that requires active management. If you are planning to return to Australia, start the paperwork before you land. Contact Services Australia while you are still overseas, update your details, and get the reassessment process rolling. The earlier you act, the less financial disruption you'll face. Here is another layer most people miss. When your pension status changes, it doesn't just affect your fortnightly payment. It triggers a cascade of other consequences. Your Commonwealth Seniors Health Card or Pensioner Concession Card might be suspended. That means you lose access to bulk billing doctors, discounted medications under the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme, and concessions on utilities, public transport, and council rates. For many retirees, these concessions are worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars a year. Losing them can wipe out any savings you thought you were making by living overseas. And here is the kicker. These cards don't automatically reinstate when your pension resumes. You have to reapply for them separately. So you are not just dealing with a payment gap, you are dealing with a benefits gap that affects your day-to-day cost of living. Even if you are staying in Australia, there is still an ongoing obligation. You must keep Centrelink informed of any changes to your circumstances. This includes changes in your relationship status, income, assets, living arrangements, and even your contact details. If you move house and don't update your address, and Centrelink sends you a letter requesting information that you never receive, your payment can be suspended. If you start a new relationship and don't declare it, and they later find out your partner has income or assets, you could be hit with a debt. The system operates on the principle of continuous compliance. It is not a set and forget arrangement. Every 6 months, many pensioners receive a review letter asking them to confirm their details. Ignoring it or assuming nothing's changed can have serious consequences. Treat every piece of correspondence from Services Australia as urgent. Respond promptly, provide accurate information, and keep copies of everything. This is your financial lifeline. Treat it with the seriousness it deserves. So here is my final piece of advice, and it is the most important thing I'll say in this entire video. Before you make any major life decision, whether it is moving overseas, selling your home, or changing your living arrangements, contact Services Australia first. Don't assume, don't rely on Facebook posts, don't trust second-hand information from a friend of a friend. Get it directly from the source. Call them, visit a service centre, or use your MyGov account to submit an inquiry. Explain your situation, ask how it will affect your pension, and get it in writing if possible. The system isn't designed to trick you, it is designed to support you, but only if you understand how it works. And the only way to truly understand it is to engage with it directly. The rules are complex, yes, but they're also predictable. Once you know them, you can plan around them. Ignorance is not bliss when it comes to Centrelink, it is a liability. So let's bring this full circle. The $1,208 figure that has been circulating, it is not your pension, it is not even from this country. The real Australian age pension maximum for January 2026 is around $1,240 per fortnight for a single person, but your actual rate depends on your income and assets. The next indexation is in March, not January. And if you are planning to travel or live overseas, your pension can be affected in ways you might not expect. The system is watching, the rules are real, and the consequences of non-compliance are serious. But here is the good news. If you stay informed, stay proactive, and stay in touch with Services Australia, you'll be fine. You'll get what you are entitled to, and you'll avoid the nasty surprises that catch so many people off guard. If this video helped you, do me a favor, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment if you have questions. I read them all. And subscribe to this channel because I am here to cut through the confusion and give you the real, verified, no-nonsense information you need to protect your financial future. Stay smart, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.